My wife and I weren't invited to my sister's wedding because her in-laws don't approve of interracial couples. I never thought I'd be writing a post like this. I've spent hours reading other people's family drama stories online, always thinking, thank God that's not my family. Well, here I am now, sharing my own nightmare. My sister Lisa and I have always been close, at least I thought we were. We're only 2 years apart, grew up sharing everything, and stayed tight even as adults. I'm 32 now, and she's 30. I met my wife Amara when we were in college, and we've been married for 5 years. Amara is Nigerian American, and I'm white. Our relationship has had its challenges from ignorant people, but my immediate family had always seemed accepting. My parents adored Amara from day one, and Lisa and she got along great too. Or so I believed. Lisa started dating Eric about 2 years ago. Nice enough guy on the surface, works in finance, comes from a wealthy Southern family, plays golf on weekends. The kind of guy our parents were thrilled about. I noticed early on that Eric seemed uncomfortable around Amara and me. He'd avoid direct conversation with her or make excuses to leave when we'd visit. I brushed it off as social awkwardness. When Lisa announced their engagement 8 months ago, Amara was genuinely excited for her. We took them out to celebrate, and though Eric was polite, there was always this tension. The kind you feel but can't quite name. As wedding plans began, Lisa started acting strangely. She'd call me to talk about wedding details but would get oddly evasive whenever I'd ask about our role in the ceremony. I assumed I'd be a groomsman, if not the best man, and thought maybe Amara would be a bridesmaid since they'd become friends over the years. But Lisa kept saying, we're still figuring things out, or Eric's family is very traditional about weddings. Then came the bombshell. It was a Tuesday evening. Amara was working late at the hospital, she's a pediatric nurse, and I was making dinner when my phone rang. Lisa's name popped up on the screen. Hey, Lise, I answered, balancing my phone between my ear and shoulder while stirring pasta sauce. Hi. Her voice sounded tight. Do you have a minute to talk about something important? I turned the heat down. Sure, what's up? It's about the wedding. She paused. Look, there's no easy way to say this. My stomach dropped. Something in her tone set off alarm bells. Eric's parents are. They're very traditional. Old-fashioned, really. They're from a small town in Georgia, and they have certain views. Views about what, Lisa? I already knew where this was heading, but I needed to hear her say it. They're not comfortable with interracial couples at the wedding. She rushed through the words like she was ripping off a band-aid. They think it would cause too much tension with the extended family. The wooden spoon in my hand froze mid-stir. Are you saying what I think you're saying? It's not me, Mark. It's Eric's family. His parents are paying for most of the wedding, and they've made it clear that certain things are non-negotiable. Certain things? You mean my wife and I being there? I tried to change their minds, I really did, Lisa said, her voice trembling. Eric tried too, but his family is stubborn. They've threatened to pull all their funding if we don't do things their way. So what exactly are you telling me, Lisa? Just spell it out. My voice had gone cold. You're still invited, she said in a small voice. But Amara isn't. I'm so sorry. The rage that surged through me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. Are you fucking kidding me? You're actually calling to tell me my wife isn't welcome at your wedding because of the color of her skin? This is 2023, not 1950. Please try to understand. Understand what? That you're willing to exclude my wife, your friend and sister-in-law for 5 years, because some racist in-laws might get uncomfortable? What is there to understand, Lisa? It's complicated, she whispered. The wedding is so expensive, and Eric's family is covering almost everything. We can't afford to lose their support. So this is about money? You're selling out my wife for a fancy wedding? That's not fair. I'm just trying to keep the peace. Eric says once they get to know Amara better, things will change. This is just temporary. I nearly laughed at the absurdity. Temporary racism? Is that what we're calling it now? Listen to yourself, Lisa. You could still come, she said, sounding desperate now. Just you. That way at least one of you would be there for my special day. That was the moment something broke inside me. My own sister was asking me to pretend my marriage didn't exist, to walk into her wedding alone as if Amara was some dirty secret. Let me be crystal clear, I said, my voice shaking with anger. If Amara isn't welcome, I'm not coming either. And if you go through with this, you're not just excluding my wife, you're making a choice about what kind of person you want to be, what kind of family you want to have. Please don't make this harder than it already is, Lisa pleaded. I'm caught in the middle. No, you're not caught in the middle. There is no middle ground with racism, Lisa. You're choosing a side, and apparently, it's not mine or Amara's. Eric says. I don't give a damn what Eric says. What do you say? Because the Lisa I grew up with would never have even considered something like this. There was silence on the line, then a small sob. I don't know what to do. I love him, Mark. I want this wedding. Then have it. But understand what it costs. Not just my attendance, but our relationship. You don't mean that, she whispered. I do. Call me when you decide what kind of person you want to be. I hung up. I stood in my kitchen, sauce burning on the stove, shaking with anger and disbelief. How was I going to tell Amara? How do you tell someone you love that they've been explicitly uninvited from a family wedding because of their race? When Amara came home that night, I tried to act normal. We ate dinner, talked about our days, but she knew something was wrong. She always does. What is it? She asked, reaching across the table to touch my hand. You've barely said 10 words all night. I couldn't lie to her. Taking a deep breath, I told her everything: Lisa's call, Eric's parents' traditional views, the disgusting invitation for me to attend alone. Amara sat very still, her face a careful mask. This wasn't the first time she'd dealt with racism, but having it come from family, from people who claimed to love her, that was different. I'm so sorry, I said, feeling utterly helpless. This is completely fucked up in every way. Amara was quiet for a long moment. What did you tell her? That if you're not welcome, I'm not coming either. And that she's making a choice about what kind of relationship we'll have going forward. She nodded slowly. Thank you for standing up for us. Her voice was steady, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. But are you sure? She's your sister. This is her wedding. I've never been more sure of anything, I replied. There's no scenario where I attend that wedding without you. None. That night in bed, Amara curled against me, her body tense. I don't want to come between you and your family, she whispered in the dark. You aren't, I said firmly. Lisa is making a choice. So am I. The next few days were brutal. My parents called, clearly caught in the middle. They were horrified by Lisa's decision but still tried to find some compromise. Couldn't you just go for the ceremony? My mother suggested tentatively. Just to keep the peace? Would you go to an event where Dad wasn't welcome because of who he is? I countered. Her silence was answer enough. My father was more direct. This isn't right, and you know it, he told me. But weddings make people crazy. Lisa isn't thinking clearly. That's the problem, Dad. She is thinking clearly. She's just decided that her fancy wedding is more important than taking a stand against racism. I'll talk to her, he promised. This isn't who we raised her to be. But nothing changed. Lisa sent a formal wedding invitation addressed only to me. No mention of Amara. Not even a Mr. Mark Johnson and guest. Just my name, alone, as if my marriage didn't exist. I texted her a photo of the torn-up invitation with one word: no. The weeks leading up to the wedding were a minefield of family tension. Relatives took sides, most supported us, expressing shock at Lisa's decision, but a few suggested we were making too big a deal out of it or ruining Lisa's special day. One aunt even had the audacity to suggest that Amara could understand, as a foreigner, the importance of respecting different cultural traditions. Amara was born and raised in Boston. Through it all, Amara handled everything with incredible grace. She never badmouthed Lisa or Eric, even as I was raging about them. She simply said, people show you who they are when it costs them something to stand by you. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday in June at a vineyard in Virginia. As the date approached, Lisa made several attempts to reach out, each one more desperate than the last. Just come for the ceremony, she begged in a voicemail. Sit in the back if you want. I need my brother there. I didn't return her calls. 2 days before the wedding, Eric showed up at our door unannounced. I hadn't seen him since this whole mess started. Can we talk? He asked, looking uncomfortable on our doorstep. Part of me wanted to slam the door in his face, but I let him in. He sat stiffly on the edge of our couch, declining my half-hearted offer of a drink. Lisa's devastated that you won't be at the wedding, he started. That's rich, I replied coldly. Considering she's the one who uninvited my wife. Look, my parents are from a different generation. They have certain beliefs. Racist beliefs. He flinched but didn't deny it. They're paying for most of the wedding. We can't just. You could, I interrupted. You could have a smaller wedding. You could pay for it yourselves. You could stand up to your parents. You could do a lot of things besides capitulating to racism. It's complicated, he muttered, the same phrase Lisa had used. No, it's actually incredibly simple, I shot back. You're choosing bigotry over family. The fact that you're here trying to get me to come alone proves you know it's wrong. Lisa cries every night, he said, as if that would change my mind. She wants her brother at her wedding. And I want a sister who wouldn't exclude my wife because of her skin color. Guess we're both disappointed. His face hardened. You're being selfish. This is her wedding day. Something snapped inside me. I stood up, towering over him. Get out of my house. Right now. Mark. Get out. My voice was shaking with fury. You come into my home, the home I share with my wife, who your family has deemed unworthy of attending your wedding, and you have the audacity to call me selfish. Get out before I throw you out. He left quickly, mumbling something about trying to help. I slammed the door behind him. When Amara came home and I told her about Eric's visit, she sat beside me and took my hands in hers. Are you absolutely sure about missing the wedding? She asked softly. It's tomorrow, last chance to change your mind. I've never been more sure of anything, I replied honestly. But I'm sorry this is happening. She smiled sadly. I'm just sorry your sister turned out to be someone different than who you thought she was. The day of the wedding, we deliberately planned a day trip to get out of the house and away from our phones. We drove to the coast, walked on the beach, ate seafood at a little restaurant overlooking the water. I posted a single photo on social media, Amara and me, smiling with the ocean behind us, captioned perfect day with my beautiful wife. I knew it would get back to Lisa. I wanted it too. My phone exploded that night with messages from family who had attended the wedding. Apparently, Lisa had been looking for me until the last minute, hoping I'd show up. During the reception, she'd had too much to drink and broken down crying, telling everyone who would listen that her brother had abandoned her on her wedding day. My cousins reported that our parents looked uncomfortable throughout the entire event, leaving immediately after the cake cutting. The kicker came from my cousin Jen. Eric's parents kept asking where you were, and Lisa told them you were traveling for work. She didn't even have the guts to tell them the real reason you weren't there. 3 days after the wedding, my mother called. Her voice was tight. Your father and I need to talk to you and Amara. Can we come over for dinner tomorrow? When they arrived, both looked exhausted. They hugged Amara extra long, which told me everything I needed to know. Over dinner, they filled us in on what had happened after the wedding. They'd finally had enough and confronted Eric's parents at the post-wedding brunch. I couldn't sit there another minute listening to them ask about you and pretending everything was fine, my mother explained. So I told them exactly why you weren't there. My father nodded grimly. I've never seen people backpedal so fast. Suddenly it was all we never said that and there must have been a misunderstanding. What did Lisa do? I asked. My parents exchanged glances. She tried to smooth things over, my father said carefully. Said there had been communication issues on all sides. Communication issues, I repeated flatly. That's what we're calling racism now? We're not defending her, my mother said quickly. What she did was wrong. Deeply wrong. We just thought you should know that this might have been more about Lisa and Eric being cowards than his parents being the only problem. That almost makes it worse, Amara said quietly. It was the first time she'd spoken since the conversation began. If they used his parents as an excuse because they were too cowardly to own their own prejudice. No one had an answer to that. A week passed. Then too. Lisa and Eric returned from their honeymoon, and I braced myself for another attempt at reconciliation. Sure enough, she called one evening when Amara was at book club. Can we talk? Her voice was small on the phone. I don't know what there is to say, I replied. Please, Mark. I made a horrible mistake. I want to apologize, to both of you. Part of me wanted to hang up, but another part needed to hear whatever she had to say. I'm listening. Eric's parents never actually said Amara couldn't come, she admitted in a rush. They made some comments about people like her at family events in the past, and I panicked. I was so afraid of conflict, of them pulling their money, of the wedding being ruined. I convinced myself it was better to avoid the issue. I felt like I'd been punched. So you lied? You weren't even standing up to actual racist demands, you were preemptively discriminating against my wife based on your assumptions? I know it sounds terrible. It doesn't sound terrible, Lisa. It is terrible. It's actually worse than what you originally told me. She started crying. I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. So sorry. Being afraid of what they might think is no excuse for what I did. Does Eric know you're calling me? Yes, she sniffled. He feels awful too. We both want to make this right, somehow. I took a deep breath. I don't know if you can. This isn't something you can fix with an apology and a bouquet of flowers. You revealed something fundamental about yourself, about who you are and what you value. That's not fair. I made one terrible mistake. It wasn't a mistake, I interrupted. A mistake is forgetting to order the cake or sending invitations with a typo. What you did was a choice, a series of choices, actually. You chose to exclude my wife based on her race. You chose to lie about the reason. You chose your fancy wedding over doing the right thing. And at the wedding, you chose to lie again rather than admit what you'd done. Silence on the line. Then, what can I do to make this right? I don't know if you can, I admitted. But if you want any chance at rebuilding our relationship, you need to start by apologizing to Amara. Not through me. To her face. And then you need to publicly acknowledge what you did, to our family, to Eric's family, to everyone who was at that wedding wondering where I was. I don't know if I can do that, she whispered. Then we have nothing more to talk about. I hung up and sat in the quiet of my living room, feeling hollow. When Amara came home, I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her face thoughtful. What do you want to do? She asked when I finished. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to cut her off completely. Another part remembers the sister who defended me against bullies and helped me through my first heartbreak. Amara nodded. People are complicated. They can be both the person who loves you and the person who hurts you. 2 days later, Lisa texted asking if she and Eric could come over to talk. After checking with Amara, I reluctantly agreed. They arrived looking nervous, Eric clutching a gift bag that I immediately wanted to throw back in his face. We sat awkwardly in our living room, an uncomfortable silence falling over us. Finally, Lisa turned to Amara and, with tears in her eyes, delivered what seemed like a genuine apology. She admitted everything, her cowardice, her lies, her failure to stand up for what was right. I can't undo what I did, she finished. But I want you to know that I'm truly, deeply sorry. Not just for hurting you, but for betraying everything a family is supposed to be. Eric spoke next, looking directly at Amara rather than at the floor as he usually did. I should have stood up to my parents from the beginning, should have made it clear that you and Mark were non-negotiable parts of our wedding. I was a coward, and I'm ashamed of that. Amara was quiet for a long moment. Thank you for your apologies, she said finally. I appreciate you coming here and saying these things to my face. We brought you something, Eric said, awkwardly pushing the gift bag toward us. It's not a peace offering, I know this isn't something we can buy our way out of. It's just something we should have given you a long time ago. Inside was a wedding album, not theirs, but a custom one they'd had made with photos from our wedding 5 years earlier. Lisa had been my best woman at our wedding, standing beside me as I married Amara. The album was beautiful, filled with pictures of the four of us together, looking happy and united. I was honored to be part of your wedding, Lisa said softly. I should have honored you by insisting you be part of mine. It was a thoughtful gesture, but it didn't erase what had happened. Still, it was a start. We've also done something else, Eric added. We told my parents the truth, everything. About our lies, about why Mark and Amara weren't at the wedding. They were shocked, to put it mildly. They said they never would have demanded you not attend. Do you believe them? I asked skeptically. Eric sighed. Honestly? I don't know. They've made enough problematic comments over the years that Lisa's fear wasn't completely unfounded. But we'll never know now, because we never gave them the chance to do the right thing. We just assumed the worst and acted accordingly. We've also told the rest of the family, Lisa added. Posted a statement on the wedding website explaining exactly why you weren't there, that it was our failure, not yours. This, more than anything, showed me they might be serious about making amends. Public accountability wasn't easy. I appreciate that, I said cautiously. But rebuilding trust takes time. A lot of time. We know, Lisa nodded. We're prepared for that. We just hope you'll give us the chance. After they left, Amara and I talked late into the night about forgiveness, about family, about what moving forward might look like. I'm not ready to forgive and forget, Amara admitted. But I'm willing to see if they're truly committed to change. Over the following months, Lisa and Eric made consistent efforts. They educated themselves about racial issues. They joined us for dinner regularly, always as respectful guests in our home. When Eric's parents eventually visited town, they insisted on introducing Amara properly, standing firmly by our side throughout the awkward first meeting. It wasn't perfect. There were still uncomfortable moments, still times when I'd catch Eric or his family saying something tone-deaf that made me want to walk away for good. But they were trying, and sometimes that has to be enough to start with. 6 months after the wedding, we agreed to a small family holiday gathering at my parents' house. Eric's parents declined the invitation, which was probably for the best. The tension was still there, humming beneath the surface, but we were talking again. Really talking. After dinner, Lisa pulled me aside. "I know things will never be exactly the same between us," she said quietly. "I broke something important. But I want you to know that I think about what I did every day, how I failed you, failed Amara, failed myself. It's changing how I move through the world." I nodded, not quite ready to offer absolution but acknowledging her efforts. "Actions matter more than words," I told her. "Keep showing up. Keep doing the work." That night, as Amara and I drove home, she reached over and took my hand. "You know what I'm proud of? That you never wavered. Not once. You stood by me even when it cost you." "It wasn't a choice," I said honestly. "You're my wife. My family. The family I chose." She smiled in the darkness of the car. "And you're mine. The rest of them. They're just trying to earn that title back." It's been a year since the wedding now. Our relationship with Lisa and Eric remains complicated, healing, but scarred. The experience changed all of us. It forced Lisa to confront her own willingness to accommodate racism rather than challenge it. It forced Eric to stand up to his family in ways he'd avoided his whole life. It forced my parents to take a hard look at how they'd raised us and where they might have failed. And it changed me too. I learned that sometimes standing up for what's right means standing alone, at least temporarily. I learned that the bonds of family aren't just about blood or shared history, they're about choices we make every day, about who we decide to be when those choices are difficult. Most of all, I learned that love isn't just about warm feelings and happy memories. Real love is a boundary. A line in the sand. A promise that says, no one gets to disrespect you, not even the people who claim to love me. Amara and I are stronger for having gone through this, even though I wish we never had to. I still get angry sometimes thinking about that wedding, about the empty chair where I should have been, about the photos where I'm conspicuously absent. But mostly, I feel at peace with my decision. Because when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And when they try to become better, watch their actions, not their words. My sister is trying. It might be enough, eventually. But my marriage, my commitment to stand by my wife against anyone who would diminish her, that was never in question. Not for a single moment. And that's something I'll never regret.